and has clocked more than 30 years of experience in urban rail transportation. He is currently the CEO of the Hyderabad Metro Rail project, which is the largest PPP project in the country. And in fact, when you listen to her, you will begin to understand and appreciate that transportation planners need to have soul to create sustainable mobility options for everyone. Not just people who are driving around in cars, but also people who are moving around, walking and enjoying the urban experience. Mrs. Beena Balakrishnan. We also have in our midst Mr. Michael Abraham, who is working closely with the Berlin local government in his capacity as a researcher in the Berlin Technical University. He is a planner by training and brings with him an international experience across Europe, particularly on how mobility, what are the mobility options that we have in planning our cities. In fact, he will talk about eco-mobility that is now being implemented in Berlin, including the LEZ, which is a low emission zone that is being implemented in the core part of Berlin. Mr. Abraham. We also have Sandhya, who is with us. She is working closely with the Headstrings project, which is the traffic improvement project in Hyderabad. She will talk about the experience of implementing the project and the achievements so far in the project. What we could do is, we will have about 15 minutes of presentation by each speaker, and then I will summarize the sessions for you, and then we can have a Q&A after that. So we'll first have the presentation by Mr. N.B.S. Reddy.
Good afternoon, everybody. I basically talk about Hyderabad Metro Rail, the mass transit system which we are building in Hyderabad, and how we are integrating. We are trying to give a seamless travel facility. Briefly, I'll explain. It's a completely elevated mass transit system. We are doing in first phase about 72 kilometers, 3 corridors. This is the world's largest mass transit system in public-private partnership. There are about 200 mass transit systems in the world. Out of the 200 mass transit systems, less than half a dozen are built in what is called the PPP, public-private partnership mode. This is, so far as my knowledge goes, the largest PPP mass transit system is in Bangkok, about 35 kilometers. This is double that. The main project cost in Indian rupees about 14,132 crore or US dollars 2.36 billion. There's also a property development component that's about 0.37 billion, and apart from that, the state government is property development is about 0.33 billion, and we are also spending from the state government side another 3.33. So total, this project cost is about $3 billion project. On behalf of Government of Telangana, Hyderabad Metro Rail Limited, of which I am the Managing Director, we are the concessioning authority. The concessionaire is India's largest infrastructure company, L&T. This is the location of Hyderabad. Now you are familiar with Hyderabad city. It's the gateway for the southern India. Hyderabad, if you include the surroundings, is about 10 million population or 1 crore population. It's a capital city of the southern state, Telangana. It's a historical city, but at the same time, a vibrant, modern industry. Basically in IT is service sector industry. We are a vibrant city. There is severe traffic congestion in this city. Right now, more than 3 million trips, about 30 lakh trips are being made. 30 lakh vehicles or 3 million vehicles are plying in Hyderabad roads, and every year we are adding about 300,000 vehicles. Out of the 7 million motorized trips, only 44% is by public transportation, mostly by, we have a bus system with government. Now it's going to be the TSRTC, Telangana State Road Transport Corporation. That's the real beast of burden in Hyderabad city. It caters to about 42% of the public transport is motorized trips. Two-wheelers is about 30%, autos are about 16%, cars are about 10%. First phase, as I mentioned, we are building 72 kilometers, 66 stations, The main idea is not that I'm pretty much conscious that metro alone will not solve the traffic problems of the city. So you have to have an integrated approach, seamless travel facility of to provide for Hyderabad. So we are trying to connect the main rail, the bus depots, and all other systems of transportation, so that actually see there is end-to-end facility available for the denizens of Hyderabad. It's what I call the Transit Plus approach, more emphasis on the last mile connectivity, including the feeder buses, the pedestrian services, non-motorized transport, bicycles, street furniture. I look at it as an opportunity to redesign an Indian city. Cities all over the world are basically designed for cars, and then you realize that car is not the solution. Instead of car, you have to design the city for people. So how do you make a city, especially an Indian city, people-friendly city? It's an opportunity for us to redesign Hyderabad or any other Indian city as a people-friendly green city. That's the concept we are trying to adopt here in Hyderabad. So the stations are going to be, as such, when compared to road, rail is very energy efficient, 5 times energy efficient. Out of that, when compared to underground, elevated is much more energy efficient. We would like to further bring down the carbon footprint by going for eco-friendly stations as much as possible. We are trying to avoid air conditioning in our metro stations. That's number one. And number two, by regenerative braking, we are aiming to regenerate about 35% of the energy which can be fed back into the system. That's how we are trying to bring down the carbon footprint as much as possible. So these are completely eco-friendly stations with connected with skywalks, bicycles, etc., which I'll show you. So it has tremendous potential to further generate investments in the city. It's basically a concession model, initially for 35 years, extendable by another 25 years. There's a lot of scope for, the fact that we have gone for PPP is just not for mobilizing resources. Mobilizing resources is only part of the story. More than mobilizing resources, it is a synergy or a marriage between what is good at government, what government is good at, and what private sector is good at. So private sector should do what private sector is efficient in, and government should do what government is efficient in. So we would like to synergize both. So that's how I actually say it's more for increasing the efficiency of the country. Basically, we are doing this is the largest experiment. I keep giving this example. India is capable of doing extreme things. 20 years ago, we were the lowest tele-density in the world and highest tariffs in the world. Today, if you think of it, actually, we are next only to China in terms of tele-density, and in terms of tariffs, we are the lowest in the world. This has happened because basically public sector private participation. So the PPP approach has done wonders in this country. No doubt there are some problems, but it has a tremendous potential. That's how we have taken up this. So it has 269 acres. Out of initially, my project was designed as a government project. In that government project, they said that 269 acres is required, for the rail facilities. Without changing anything, what I've done is I've converted this into a PPP model, and the same 269 acres ground level will be basically used for train facilities, and above that you have to commercially exploit. Airspace is available basically for commercial exploitation, because there are 200 mass transit systems in the world. Out of the 200 mass transit systems, only, to my knowledge, only 4 are making money. They are Singapore, Hong Kong, Tokyo, and Taipei. They are making money because 50% of their revenues come from, other than the fare box, basically they come from the real estate which they have developed. This is the model which we have adopted here in Hyderabad. So without changing anything, the same 269 acres were kept it. At the depot, 70% of it, they have to use it for depot purposes, 30% they can use it for the property development. Whatever property which they develop, they cannot sell, they can only lease it out during the concession period, and at the end of the concession period, it will come back to the government. This is the model which we have adopted. So in our revenue model, about 50% of the revenues basically come from passenger fares, 45% will come from the property development, and about 5%, that's basically lease rentals, and 5% will come from advertisements and other things. This is the model. We are trying to make it a financially viable system. Another thing is, the problem of a mass transit system, why mass transit systems basically make losses is, number one, they are capital intensive. Number two, you design a mass transit system for peak hour traffic, but the majority part of the day is non-peak hours. So how do you make use of your assets? Will be idling basically during non-peak hours. So you have to think of innovative methods actually to make optimal utilization of resources. One good thing is basically we would like to increase the value of the property, basically see by increasing the footprint. Okay, the more and more footfalls will be attracted to the mass transit system, and the footfalls will increase the value of the property, and the property will increase the footfalls. This is how we would like to have a symbiotic relationship and increase the financial viability of the system. So basically, our metro stations are going to be hubs of activity, shopping malls, multiplexes, leisure, hotels, etc. All these facilities will be available. Basically, whatever a human being wants, that will be available at the metro stations. As I mentioned, this is the project cost and financial model I have explained. These are all the various agencies working, a lot of international agencies are working with us. Most of the civil construction is being done by L&T itself, which is a giant in this infrastructure industry. A lot of imports are also there, signaling and telecommunications, for example, train control and all. We are getting it from Thales, a French company. Communication is also from the French company Thales. Trackworks, we are importing basically Tata Chorus, French company, taken over by Tatas. We are getting the track systems, and also from Oslo of Germany. Keolis, we have already appointed, they are the O&M operator. Automatic fare collection gates, AFC from Samsung, South Korea. Elevators and escalators are from Otis, USA. So these are all the agencies, basically viaduct, stations, depots, OETS, etc. These are all by L&T. This is signaling and all by Thales, Otis elevators, Samsung AFC, and Rotem we are getting the coaches. As I mentioned, we have a philosophy, city for citizens, people-friendly city, city for children, old men, women, etc. These are all we are integrating into our system. Gender equality and women's emancipation is another emphasis in our project. Democracy and public space becomes extremely important. You have to have quality public space for ordinary people. Reducing distances and improving accessibility, affordable transportation with comfort, improving productivity, promoting family values is also an important aspect of our philosophy. Better air quality and improving livability. With that, improve the competitiveness and the brand equity of Hyderabad. It's not an engineer's project, it's basically a people's project. We are basically using this opportunity to redesign our city. So more of pedestrian facilities, as different cities in the world have done it, we are going to do it. This is what I call a city. See, I give the example of Bogota. Bogota, for example, see, the public place which was once occupied by the mafia, drug mafia, they were sent out and created good quality public space. I call this a city if a child is able to enjoy the public space. This is what we are going to create at our metro stations. Similarly, promote family values. Actually, if you are able to provide bicycle tracks, the whole family can go. That provides better family values. Quality public space we are going to create. Intermodal integration we are going to create. These are all, see, I'm not reinventing the wheel. Wherever there's a best practice available in different parts of the world, actually, I've taken, and wherever there's a mistake, I'm trying to avoid the mistake. Bicycle stations, at all our metro stations, there are going to be bicycle stations for last mile connectivity. This is the example I've taken from Thailand, Bangkok. Bangkok initially built an elevated metro like Hyderabad Metro. Then they realized that actually there's a lot of potential. They built a skywalk below and gave connectivity to all the buildings, etc. The people who originally opposed metro in Bangkok later started appreciating, and all these people are now welcoming it. At one point of time, the central Bangkok was deteriorating. Now it started rejuvenating as a part of the Bangkok SkyTrain. Same thing we are going to adopt in Hyderabad. Our schools, colleges, hospitals, public spaces, government buildings, private buildings, etc. We are going to give connectivity to the skywalk. That means I increase the efficiency of the city. At the ground level, there is one city, but at the sky level, there is another city. The person who gets down from a metro, he doesn't have to come down at many places. Through the skywalk, he will have access to different buildings. So, emphasis on, we have what is called MMTS, local rail. Bus depots, we are going to give connectivity. Merry-go-round system, we are going to introduce feeder buses. Bicycling, a lot of importance is going to be given for we are also going to beautify the metro tracks with all these facilities. Greening is an important thing. As a part of the project, I had to cut about 5,000 trees, but as a compensatory plantation, about 25,000 trees should have been planted. Instead of 25,000, I said, why 25,000? 250,000, 250,000 saplings have been planted, and 2,000 trees were translocated with 90% success rate. This is how we have involved community in all these activities, including the school children, college children, and all the people. Aesthetics is important. Another emphasis, we are trying to make our structures, civil structures, more aesthetic. These are the facilitation works we have done all the time. I'm on the road with my team. We have widened the roads. People in Hyderabad, they're aware. We have a lot of challenges. It's not easy to build a mass transit system in a congested city. Nalas, these are the open drains. We have improved, covered, and created space so that we could barricade the central median of the roads. Where we have religious structures where they are not cooperating, so we have islanded them actually. We have created a bypass so that we can go ahead with the works. Shifting of electrical poles, etc. is an important part of our thing. We have done that. The religious structures, how we tackle the in the city, it's going to be part of history. Actually, how to do projects in this country. It's extremely difficult to do any public project in this country with so much of opposition from different quarters and vested interests, etc. How we tackle it is important. Well, when we started, a lot of people naturally raised concerns saying that you are going to, naturally Hyderabad Metro is affecting some schools, some 3-4 schools. So we built much better schools. There were agitations initially. It's a part of the democratic process. Actually, we have learned lessons. Every criticism against the Metro project, I have taken the positive aspect of it, and I try to give a solution for that. Today, the school children are extremely happy. This is the school we have built. This is one of the best schools in Hyderabad. Now, same as the case with government offices, we have built much better government offices now wherever the properties are erected. Greenery, a lot of greenery we have done. Translocation is the translocation process. About 2,000 trees were translocated. So that's how all these translocated trees are thriving in different parts of the city. We are going to beautify the place below the viaduct. As a part of this project, I have conducted a national design competition. We are going to do this once my Metro project is over. These are the works in progress. It was a real greenfield project. When I was working actually knee-deep at several places, it was like this. My private sector partner used to ask me, sir, this kind of a place, how are you going to build? This is what the situation was, and today it's like a factory. And 85%, another challenge of mine is that actually, see, in this kind of a busy, congested road, how do you build a metro? So what we have done is actually through engineering solutions, 85% of our project actually were converted to precast mode. Today we have 2 precast yards in the country. They're the largest precast yards. One is in Uppal, the other one is in Singh, Kurpallapur. 72 acres is in one place, 62 acres is in one place. It was like this today. It's a factory environment where 85% of my work is done there. So these are all the precast segments, which we do it and later transport it at night and fix it for our metro. These are the piers. Actually, I call it, aesthetics become extremely important. Engineers have a tendency to concentrate more on structural stability. For us, aesthetics of the city is equally important. I call it actually poetry in concrete. The structures please have a look at different piers in other cities. It's not one-upmanship actually. See, we are only trying to improve when compared to other cities in the country. We are trying to improve, and this kind of beauty we have added to our piers, our pillars. So this is what, at one point of time, it was a cesspool. There was completely water there. Okay, water stagnation was there, 100 acres of area. Today it has got transformed like this. This is the Uppal depot. This is one of the best depots in the world today. So this is how we transformed that area and created the depot. These are the things. Everywhere we are trying to bring in aesthetics to the project. So launching girders, about 16 launching girders we have. With this semester we have made it easy. A lot of technology is involved in this project. stations. This is again a unique example. First time this kind of a thing is attempted. Normally, one perhaps valid criticism against an elevated metro is that actually you tend to cover the road. You will have a central pier, you will have a side pier, you will have a side pier here. There is likely to be a tunnel effect. There was criticism, there were workshops in Hyderabad, how ugly Hyderabad is going to look after the metro is constructed. We have given them an engineering answer to this for the first time. Say on single pier, in the central pier, on the central pier itself, the entire station, we have taken bird as an inspiration. So we have, I'll show you, we have the spine and wings concept. With that we have built this. The entire station is prefabricated as opposed to all the elevated metros where they have occupied the road and have done it. We have done away with the side piers. That's how we have added beauty to the thing. Apart from that, actually we opened up the place. Okay. So all these things, at every station we're going to have escalators, elevators and staircases. All facilities will be available. Latest AFC gates are available. This is the model of the station is likely to look like. Our latest coaches we have gone for Samsung with the latest facilities. Interiors, a lot of thought has gone into it, including the hand grab, actually Indian hand, how much is, all these calculations we have done, and this is, when compared to a single one, it has got 3. Okay, this kind of an engineering design innovations we have done. This is how actually I talk about in a PPP. There is scope. Of course, there are problems in PPP. PPP is not easy. You need a tremendous effort and you need tremendous patience. But these things are possible. Okay? So today it's a reality. This is what is happening. Already trial runs have started on our project. The test runs are going on. So right now, more than 56% of, I have 2,800 piers foundation, out of which foundations 56% is complete. Piers about 52% are complete. The 2 major depots are almost ready, Opal and Mayapur. I'm showing you the pictures. A lot of trains are arriving. July 5th of 2012, we declared as a appointed day. Construction activity started in 2012. In 5 years, the project will be completed. The first phase we are expecting to open for traffic next year, March, which we call the Telugu New Year Day. A project which was written off, that this project would never happen. This is all the experts, many experts, they said that we disproved them, actually we proved them wrong, and we have started winning a lot of global awards. Actually, last year we were selected as the global engineering project. When I made this presentation in New York, I said this project has got tremendous potential. It's different from an ordinary engineering project. Then they said this is the real engineering, it's social engineering. That's how we got this global engineering project award, world award, Rospa award, we have got it, and several other awards we are getting it. So my address is available anytime. Any of you can contact me. Thank you very much for giving this opportunity. Thank you once again.
Many thanks, sir. It was wonderful to note that we're not just doing a mass public transport project in Hyderabad, a difficult one at that. We're also looking at the last mile connectivity and aesthetics inside the rail system and the construction of the piers as well. We wish all success to this very difficult project. In fact, I have been to the war room established by L&T. It is the first such war room established in India for a large civic project. In fact, I have taken the engineers from various government departments to this place. It is only then they realized that if for a small project in a city you have to have a war room, imagine what you must do at the national level. So we wish all the project all the success, and we will go on to the next speaker now. The mass public transport system, one such system is the urban rail system. It's also called the metro rail system. In 1974, J.B. Lerner started the BRT system in Curitiba. So that was the first time I would say the anti-car movement started from the south. And it has now picked up to such an extent that 27 million people are being transported daily by the BRT system in the world. In fact, in Guangzhou as well, 8 lakh people are using it every day. And apart from, in fact, J.B. Lerner is also known for his contribution to urban planning, where when he started the project, there was just 1 square meter per capita of green space in Curitiba. When he finished the project 30 years later when it was looked at, the per capita green space in Curitiba was 52 square meters per capita, the highest in the world. 70% of people living in Sao Paulo, when asked where they would like to live, whether they would like to live in their city or elsewhere, they said they would rather live in Curitiba than in Sao Paulo. So that's the extent of impact that the system has had. Then in 2000, it picked up in Bogota, where we've seen Mr. M.V. Reddy make his presentation on. Some of the slides were there. That was done by the mayor then, Penelosa, and it is picked up in other cities as well. In India, for instance, in Ahmedabad, we've started the BRT system. In fact, it is one of the most successful BRT projects in India. Apart from the BRT projects, there are also other initiatives that other countries are taking up. For instance, Bogota has implemented 300 kilometers of cycle tracks in just 3 years. And it has also coupled that up with policy, where every Sunday, all roads are only for cycles. It's called the Cyclovia scheme, the Cyclovia policy, where on all Sundays, people only use the bicycle. And it's a very successful project. It's been picked up in other cities as well. Now we'll have a brief presentation by Mrs. Beena Balakrishnan on how we retrofit mass transportation projects so that we can improve our pedestrian experience, our NMT experience in cities.
Thank you. My paper is titled New Approaches to Improved Urban Mobility, and I'm looking at retrofitting urban areas for mass transportation and pedestrianization. So I'll start with looking at some newspaper articles, and the first one, the visual shows you that this is the at-grade road alongside a grade separated interchange, and this could be representative of any road in a metro city in India. We see very high levels of congestion. We see highly mixed traffic. There are predominantly personal modes in here. We see the footpath fully encroached by parked vehicles, and we see pedestrians somehow making their way through this mess. So the article is titled, India's Streets Are Getting Meaner, and the gist of the article is, a plane crash every day would make people sit up and take notice, but 388 road deaths daily go ignored. Sunday Times finds out why Indian roads continue to kill more people than AIDS. That's saying a lot. Now, when you have a situation like this, you can end up with situations like this, when road rage takes over. This article is the one, where is the pointer? Right. This one is over 7 years old, when Navjot Singh Sidhu was convicted of road rage death. We have scenes like this. This, you see, is in a residential area. And the ultimate, auto driver beaten to death, is not desirable at all. So why do we end up with situations like this? We have very high levels of congestion, delays, and mounting frustrations because of a very high proportion of personal modes in the transport stream, which in turn generates a very high parking demand, and the two of them together result in very low journey speeds. And this also, another reason is that there has been substantial delays in implementation of system enhancement proposals. I'm referring to studies that have been carried out in the last 2 decades, where the recommendations have not been implemented for various reasons. And our approach continues to be supply-driven. That means we believe in increasing the supply of transport infrastructure. That when you increase the supply of transport infrastructure, you only result in drawing more traffic onto the system. And so the relief from congestion is always very short-lived, and the situation most often reverts to either what it was prior to the implementation of the proposals, or many a time it gets into a more aggravated situation. So, therefore, we have newspaper articles like this. The Bangalore Mirror, dated September 18, says the efforts of the BDA, that's the Bangalore Development Authority, and the BBNP to decongest Bangalore's busiest roads by widening them turned out to be fatal for pedestrians. Between 2008 and 2014, that's in 6 years, over 1,000 pedestrians have died, most of them while trying to cross the roads. And these are the statistics that the article carried. I have plotted them on a small section of this is the ring road that surrounds Bangalore, and that article refers to this road. So at this point, we have 88 deaths. At this point, 175 deaths, 128 deaths, and 69 deaths. Overall, over 1,000 pedestrians killed while crossing the streets and over 3,000 injured on city roads. Moving from Bangalore to India's statistics, unfortunately, we have the highest number of accident fatalities, over 137,000 people in 1 year alone. In the year 2013, we have the number of people killed per 100 accidents rising from 21.2 to 28.3 in a 10-year period. And as the article said, the magnitude of the problem is equivalent to one jumbo jet crash per day. But this is largely ignored. 11% of the road deaths are pedestrians and cyclists, and in Delhi, 44% of the victims are pedestrians. And as if that were not enough, India's accident reporting may be, underreporting may be as much as 111%. So, a quick look at our current approach, which is still very car-centric. The number of personal modes continues to increase in the traffic stream. We continue to believe that we need wider roads, and we continue to cut away footpaths for making more car lanes. When we increase the number of personal modes, the demand for parking increases, and we keep increasing the supply of parking spaces. In the absence of that, the curbside lane is lost to parking. And when there's no space on the curbside lane, they park on footpaths. We carry out expensive, comprehensive transportation studies, where the bulk of the studies are for vehicular movements. There is rarely any design for pedestrians. And until such time that we can enhance, can increase the supply of infrastructure, we resort to traffic management, most city streets one way. That's logical, because if you give the entire width of the roads to one direction of traffic, you definitely get much higher speeds. But what happens then is that you draw the residential and local area network into the arterial network, with the result that you have very high volumes of through traffic who have no business in residential areas, tearing through these areas that should be calm, EV vehicles. And if the roads are too congested, then the speeds come down, pollution increases, the environment deteriorates, you have much longer travel times, unpredictable journey times. Again, road rage, but primarily there is a loss of pedestrian spaces and pedestrian safety. So my approach, so it seems that we have forgotten people. We've dropped pedestrians from the planning process. So I think, and as both the Vision Zero video and Dr. Mr. Reddy said, we need to shift our focus to people rather than cars. We need to prioritize our planning and engineering. We need to reprioritize our planning and engineering to focus on safety over the speed and convenience of cars, through reducing the speed in urban areas, pedestrian priority zones, bringing in cycle tracks, and buffering this most vulnerable section of road users, the cyclists and the pedestrian, from the cars. So I'm looking at a new approach. Rather than just sweep out what is there and bringing in something new, I'm looking at optimizing the resources that we have in place. We have put in a substantial amount of investment on road infrastructure, but that is not being functionally optimized because the public sees it as a public space that is available for any private use. So you have private vehicles parking in public spaces, you have hawkers, you have roadside eateries, you have garages spilling out of a very tiny space off the road onto the footpath and onto the main carriageway. You have shop fronts spilling out onto the footpath and the main carriageway. So it is being, actually I think it's being abused. So I'm looking at optimizing the resources in place before looking at system enhancement. And I am looking at retrofitting urban areas for sustainability by reallocating the available road space for more efficient uses. In order to get control of that road space, I recommend the formulation of policies selectively to release that road space for the use that you think it will be better put to. And finally, designing strategies to implement those policies. I won't be looking at strategies here, I will look at the first 2 points. And since we are looking at road-based transportation, I'm looking at dedicated bus lanes and bus rapid transit systems with very high quality buses operating at much better frequencies and better operating speeds at a level of comfort that is comparable with a private car. Only then can you get people to leave their cars behind and use the buses. You know, it's something that you can violate. Whereas pedestrian highways, it carries a lot more punch. I think you would hesitate to violate a pedestrian highway. So where do we start? Talking of bus lanes, parking and pedestrian facilities. I will start with the pedestrian facilities. All our cities have areas where there is a concentration of pedestrians. Start with identifying pedestrian-intensive areas and make local plans to declare these to be pedestrian precincts. Once you've done that, you can introduce policies to restrict the movement of vehicles through these areas and also restrict parking. But once you restrict movement of vehicles through a particular route, you must make sure that you give them an alternate route to go from where to where. At the same time, if you ban parking there, you, for some time at least, give them an alternate parking place in the periphery of these pedestrian precincts. And you also, pedestrian precincts, in order to be actually successful, they need to be supplied by mass transportation, serviced by mass transportation modes. And in the Indian context, in order to, say that throughout this process, you need to keep the public informed about what you are doing, why you are doing, and what they stand to gain from this. So coming to identification of the mass transportation routes, all our cities have a fairly good city bus service. But if I say that they operate at suboptimal levels, I think that would be a rather euphemistic statement. The bus services are completely controlled by the rest of the traffic, and vice versa. And once you've identified, I'm going to go a little fast. Once you've identified the bus routes, you will find that almost all these routes have parking along the curbside lanes. On the curbside lane as well as on the footpath. Now identify all this parking and plan to remove this from those roads. But you give them parking on off-street locations. When you do that, you are actually releasing one lane of very valuable road space for a bus service. So demarcate that and design a bus lane. Unfortunately, we tend to put a line of paint and say that's a bus lane, but there is a lot of engineering inputs that have to go into making a bus lane an efficient bus lane. And provide some amount of off-street parking with add-on facilities. I will touch on that later on. But essentially the thing is identify the bus lanes, identify the bus routes, give them a bus lane. When you remove a large vehicle from the bus stream, from the traffic stream, it is not only the buses who benefit, it is also the rest of the traffic, because you're removing a large vehicle from the stream, and you are also eliminating the wheeling motion that the buses invariably perform. They come to the curb to pick up passengers, they move to the right lane to avail of what is supposedly the fast lane, and then they lead back to pick up other passengers. Now that movement is eliminated, you remove the large vehicle, so the traffic in the rest of the traffic also can operate at much higher levels. And in punitive action for violation of bus lanes, this is a $205 US fine for violation of bus lane. I don't think anybody will violate that. So the next step would be to introduce policies to further reduce car usage. Again, there are many tools that you can use. I will only talk about parking. All parking to be charged. Most of our cities have free parking anywhere. Even Mumbai, until a few years ago, had free parking, except maybe in places like Nariman Point, where the parking was as nominal as 10 rupees an hour. And we are talking about the world's most expensive real estate. 10 rupees an hour, and there was this parking facility, I forget the mall, it's right opposite the Oberoi at Nariman Point, where the parking inside, there was a very large parking facility there. That was 100 rupees an hour, but the parking right outside was free. So nobody parked inside, everybody parked outside on the street. So once you keep reducing, it's a process of tightening. Keep reducing the access of cars, keep reducing the availability of parking spaces, and keep increasing the rate of parking. Parking charges should ideally be reflective of the real estate values of the area. I think that is logical, because if you want to rent an apartment in that area, you would be paying a phenomenal rent. So I don't see why a private possession can be placed in a public space without paying something commensurate with that. So keep reducing the vehicle usage, the private vehicle usage, and then you will keep getting more space to reallocate for more efficient uses. You can carve out the bicycle lane. You can increase the space available for pedestrians. And eco-friendly modes like this. This is electric auto rickshaws in New Delhi, and these are larger auto rickshaws in Manila. These are 8-seater auto rickshaws, electric auto rickshaws, no noise, no emission, and of course personal mobility like the Segway. So next stage would be to extend. Now that is at the local level, where you have carved out a pedestrian precinct and you have tried to ensure that it is serviced by mass transportation. Now you extend that. These lanes can be extended, bus lanes can be extended and feed into a BRT system if it's already in place, or you can upgrade it to a BRT. Again, a BRT requires many design parameters to become functional as a BRT. And as you tighten the usage of cars, people will look for alternate modes, and then they will find that there is this very good bus service, which takes them to precincts which are very pleasant to use. So they will tend to leave their cars behind and use mass transportation, which will enable you to reallocate space further. A quick aside, just banning cars is not going to make it a very successful pedestrian precinct. You will need to treat it aesthetically, and I think both Vision Zero as well as Mr. Reddy talked about it, designing pedestrian precincts aesthetically, which will not just enhance it for pedestrian use, but it will also visually ban cars from encroaching into that space. These are just the aspects that you need to look at while designing pedestrian precincts. Pedestrian scale lighting, road signs and markings for pedestrians, roadside arboriculture. You can give pedestrian precincts a an individual character through judicious use of roadside arboriculture, facade improvement, and so on, comfortable seating. Now again, extending this to the city as a whole. I will refer to Mumbai. We have many forms of mass transportation there. And it is very rarely that a commuter trip in Mumbai uses just one form of mass transportation. You have what is called the origin lead and the destination lead, and in between, many train commuters use a bus. They walk to the bus stop, they take a bus to the train station, then the major part of the commute is covered on the suburban rail. And then at the destination, they either take a shared taxi or walk. Now, he becomes a pedestrian at both ends of his trip. Every commuter becomes a pedestrian at both ends of his trip. Yet, we do not have pedestrian facilities in any of our cities, actually. And these services, we have, as I said, the metro, the suburban train, the metro rail. We have the monorail that is coming in there, and we have the bus services. They operate in isolation. And the commuter who comes out of any one of these is left to his own devices to find his next mode of transportation. With the result that we have seas of commuters. If you have been on Mumbai roads during peak hours, you will see this sea of commuters who literally take over the streets, looking for the next mode of transportation. So I was very happy to see Mr. Reddy say that they are talking of integrating buses and the buses with the metro system and the suburban rail. But that has to happen at the planning stage. And courtesy the National Urban Transport Policy, most of our cities are looking at introducing some form of mass transportation, either rail-based or road-based. So this is going to apply to all our metro cities. transfers between the modes have to be streamlined. In Mumbai, what is happening is that, as I said, they come out of one mode. So I will just refer to the point that, intermodal transfer are the most stressful part of the journey, and unless these are properly designed, mass transportation becomes unattractive. So this is a quick look at how you can create a pedestrian highway, connecting up existing pedestrian facilities to various forms of mass transportation, and you have what I call a pedestrian highway, which will be high-speed, extremely well-designed systems. That is at the hub, and this is at the last mile, where again all the modes can be connected to the destination. Mr. Reddy again spoke about that. That's the concept of pedestrian highways and parking facilities. This is the last thing. I talked about creating parking facilities. We have, these are off-street facilities which will be in charge of a concessionaire or a contractor who's responsible for the safety of the vehicle, especially during night time. Now, they can be trained to be neighborhood watchers to supplement the police force. We have a large number of senior citizens living alone in our cities who have become soft targets for antisocial elements. Parking facilities, now these concessionaires can become a point where they can turn to for assistance. A quick look, we have add-on facilities like communication, valet services, car wash facilities, basic repair facilities, and a quick look at the audiovisual, at the video that I prepared. You see this gentleman, he's driving, he's talking on the phone, he's calling a valet driver to his destination. He gets off the car, the valet driver takes it over and drives it to a parking facility, off-street parking facility, where you have, I don't know where to stop this, where you have a mechanic, a car wash, and CCTV connected to the internet, where you can monitor your car and the safety of your home. Thank you for your time. I had a few visuals, but I think I will skip that. Just a few where, you can see how cycles have been carved out of parking lanes. That's a cycle rig. This is a reclaimed street in Manhattan. This is Europe, I think that's Vienna. This is where the cars crawl at pedestrian speeds, and so on. And that, I think, this is something I like. This is, it's like a zebra gone happy. It's actually a street in Seoul, and the idea is that the pedestrian has priority. He can cross any which way, not only at right angles to the road. He can cross any which way, and the vehicle will defer to him.
We'll have the next presentation by Mr. Abraham on the mobility options that are now being implemented in Berlin.
So, good afternoon, everybody. The presentation is actually not about only new mobility options in Berlin. It's more about the strategic plan of the city, which tries to make sure that the city transportation system is being developed towards more sustainable transportation. And this plan is called the Berlin Transport Concept, or sometimes it's being called the Berlin Sustainable Transportation Plan. In German, of course, it's called the plan. Berlin, let me start with some basic background information on the city. The surface area of the city is 892 square kilometers. Now in Berlin we have around 3.5 million people living there, and there are 45% of households without a car. That is a quite high number for German circumstances, and it goes along with the low motorization rate, which is only 324 cars per 1,000 residents, which is also very low in Germany. In other cities like Munich or Stuttgart, there are about 500 cars per 1,000 inhabitants. Another important indicator for the city is the unemployment rate. It's a quite poor city, and the unemployment rate is quite high for German circumstances. It's 11%. And Berlin doesn't have many cities around the city, so the commuting rate is also quite low compared to other cities. Inside the city, it looks also different than in other cities. It doesn't have one main center in the middle of the city. It has several centers for shopping and administration and for where the offices are, and so we call it a polycentric city. And everybody knows that Berlin used to be divided for a long time, and for the transportation sector this means that also the infrastructure for transportation was divided. So the tram lines, the subway lines, the streets, they all were cut by the wall. But since 25 years, Berlin has healed these wounds, and now the streets are linked again, and the public transportation is one system again, and this is what you see on this slide. The blue lines are subway, red lines are tram, and the green lines are city railway, which goes a little bit outside of the city. But what you see here is that tram lines are only available or only existing in the eastern part of the city. This remains from the time of the division of the city. So let's have a look at the modal split of the city. We have here numbers from 1998 and from 2008, and as you see, the motorized private transport has decreased, which is very good, and the walking and cycling modes have increased to 13% cycling and walking 28% in 2008. And we of course expect that numbers are much better related to eco-mobility in nowadays times, and we will get proof in 2014, we expect in late 2014. Station development plan in Berlin. I don't want to explain the very complex structure of the whole plan, but as every transportation development plan, it contains a mission statement, and it contains important objectives and a strategy how to reach the objectives, and measures how to realize the strategy in reaching the objectives. And what I'm going to do now is to give a quick overview of the 7 strategies Berlin is pursuing to increase sustainable mobility modes in Berlin. The private motorization rate has further decreased to 25% only. That means eco-mobility will be 75%. That's a quite big challenge, and Berlin is working hard to reach this goal. So now back to the strategies Berlin is pursuing to reach these goals. One strategy is to promote walking, and as you see here on the slide, the pedestrian areas have been improved, the sidewalks have been widened up, and everything has to try to be made more nice, so that people just like to be there. And as you see on this, there a pointer. Okay, what you see here, this is a measure to improve conditions for pedestrians. It's just to make it easier for pedestrians to cross the streets. And this is quite uncommon in Germany, that you can cross in a diagonal way. Normally you can just cross here and not like this. And this is also one of the simple measures Berlin is undertaking to promote walking. Promoting cycling, of course, is a very important strategy to reach these goals of the plan. And what has happened in Berlin, we have had many campaigns already, and we changed regulations. For example, it's now allowed, or it's a long time ago, you can ride your bicycle on the bus lanes. So it makes it very comfortable for a cyclist. And what also has been undertaken, there has been removed parking space for cars, and it has been replaced for parking facilities for bicycles, as you can see here. Another measure is to have more bicycle lanes, and it's what is different in Berlin. This is a special approach. We don't have the bicycle lanes on the sidewalks, but on the streets for cars, and it's just separated from the car traffic by a dashed line. And this is a very cost-efficient measure, and it's well accepted by all of the cyclists, and they are not afraid to drive there, and accidents have not increased, which was a concern in the beginning, but it helped a lot to increase the bicycling in general in Berlin. The next strategy is to promote a public transportation system, which is already very good in Berlin. But of course, there are constant measures to improve the system and to improve the quality of the service. And just recently in the center, the frequency of services have been increased. Road safety is another issue that is very important in Berlin. We just launched the road safety program in Berlin, and in this program we have a big campaign addressing safety and between all participants of the traffic in the city. So it's to say that everybody should take care of each other in the streets and look after each other in the streets. So pedestrians have to look after the cyclists after the car drivers, so that everybody just is aware that the other one is here and to watch for the other one. So this is a big campaign throughout the whole city. Commercial traffic is another stepstone, and here the main goal is to get commercial traffic away from the streets and on rail and waterways. So, and also to integrate these modes, to combine water and rail transportation, all for the goal to remove trucks from the street. And what has been done in Berlin, for example, is there have been investments in infrastructure like train stations. Innovations are very important also in Berlin. It wants to become a smart city, so it has tries to support innovations in the city. And what you see here is parking spaces that are devoted for electric vehicles, and there are facilities where you can load your electric vehicle. And many of these parking spaces have been established in Berlin. And what you see here, this is a public rental, bicycle rental system, and this is also to guarantee the mobility in the last mile, which you just mentioned. And we have two different rental systems. One is a new one trying to test how you can integrate it with other transportation modes more intensely. And this is a very nice measure. I like it very much. This sign says reserved for climate heroes, and it's just trying to give appreciation to cyclists, to show that the city cares for them and that the city appreciates what they are doing to preserve the climate. Yes, and all efforts in trying to make the mobility in the city more sustainable should be, of course, integrated. And this addresses the fields of transportation planning, of air pollution control, and here we have the low emission zones, which were established a few years ago, and they are very well accepted and very successful. And it also integrates noise reduction measures, which we do with keeping the speed lower at night times. So I hope that some of these measures and strategies have given you some ideas of what we are doing in Berlin, and maybe some inspiration for your work in your cities. Thank you very much.
That was brilliant. In fact, I quite like the line that we must celebrate the climate heroes. Yeah. Thanks once again. so much of the smart city concept catching up, I thought we can have time for just a couple of minutes to play this video. This is the Copenhagen.
Cars, a passion for people all over the world. Cars are a symbol of freedom, social.
Sorry.
This is the Copenhagen Wheel. It turns your ordinary bicycle into a smart electric hybrid by simply replacing your back wheel. Connect it to your smartphone, download the app, and you're ready to go. Bicycles are a great way to move around, yet sometimes distances are too long. Hills can get in the way, and hard journeys to work may leave you covered in sweat. The Copenhagen Wheel is here to change all of that. The technology was developed over several years at MIT, together with the city of Copenhagen, one of the world's most innovative places for cycling. Its original inventors licensed the technology and founded Super Pedestrian, the startup where we are now working around the clock to bring the wheel to you. Like the best riding companion, the Copenhagen Wheel learns how you pedal and integrates seamlessly with your motion. It captures your energy when you brake or go downhill, and gives you a push when you need it, with 3 to 10 times your regular foot power. It's easy, ride it just like a normal bike. As you pedal, the motor automatically kicks in, with no additional throttles or buttons. All technology for the Copenhagen Wheel is contained within the red casing, including motor, removable batteries, wireless connectivity, smart locking, multiple sensors, and an embedded control system. Use your smartphone to customize your ride, monitor your physical activity, gather information from your environment to share with your friends and fellow cyclists. And if you're a software developer, you can even create your own biking apps. So whether you carry yourself, your kids, or your gear, hills seem flat, distances shrink, and you can cycle just about anywhere. So transform your bike and transform the city. The Copenhagen Wheel.
Local governments can do. So the Copenhagen, the government there tied up with the MIT Sensible City Lab, and this is what they came up with. In fact, every day, 1.2 million kilometers of cycle ride happens in that city. The modal share of cycles in Copenhagen is 37%. I mean, that's brilliant. So we'll have a brief presentation by Sandhya now on the work that Hedstrom that's happening in Hyderabad.
Good evening, everybody. Since we are running short of time, I would quickly run this presentation. This is for the Hyderabad Traffic Police. And before I want to explain this project, I just wanted to share with you some of the road realities that we faced. So just to understand the number of vehicles that we have on the road in Chennai, we have around 3 million vehicles. In Mumbai, we have around 2 million. In Bangalore, it is 3.5, and Delhi 7, and Hyderabad, it is 3 million vehicles that we have. Okay, and if you look at the road area that we have for the compared to the total area, it is 8% in Hyderabad, and 10% in Mumbai, 18% in Chennai, and 12% in Kolkata. And the average traffic speed that we are able to commute is 12 kilometers per hour in Hyderabad. I just wanted to highlight what are the basic issues that we have in the traffic management side. Why our traffic flow are very slow compared to the other countries. So one is existing infrastructure, what we have. Okay, infrastructure that we have in terms of roads and the traffic systems and the citizen awareness. These are some of the problems why we are not able to really meet the traffic. See, the basic issues that we identified was the road quality of roads. There are so many potholes. We don't have, pedestrian safety, and also the traffic systems that we have are completely manual. Understanding all these problems, we have come up with a project called H3. We have taken one model junction, cover all the parameters systems which will improve the traffic. So this is the model junction. We have covered the LED aspects of the system, virtual loops. These are the cameras that we have put in to manage the traffic flows. We have the hooters, pedestrian signals, pedestrian refugees, road markings. We have first developed the signal infrastructure for the better traffic flow. So in order to reduce the travel time and increase the traffic flow, we have introduced the virtual loop cameras. So these cameras What they do is they will sense the traffic flow at the junction, and if there is no traffic flow in the junction, they will actually change the signal automatically to the red. The primary responsibility of these cameras is to manage the traffic and then provide the free flow for the traffic. And to avoid the congestions, these cameras are being designed into the system. And then we also put the VMS boards. These boards will provide alerts to the pedestrians, okay, to know where exactly the congestion is there, and if there are any important alerts to be displayed on the boards, these boards can be used to provide information to the commuters. And also this one more thing which we have brought in as a best practice into this project is that the entire signals, whatever we have been put in, it will be done on the solar based. This is one of the first green initiative projects. Then we have all these elements that are there on the junction side, the LED aspects, as well as the timers, the virtual loop cameras, all these are connected to the controller, and from this all these can be configured not directly at the junctions, but there is a traffic command control center where remotely you can configure all these, even the signal timings that you want to increase, if you want to display any messages, all these can be done directly from the command control center. This is the architecture of this entire traffic command center. So all these elements are connected to the controller, and from this controller it is connected to the TCC. The entire connectivity, both primary connectivity is the wired connectivity we have been set up, and apart from wired connectivity, the GPRS connectivity as a secondary is also provided to ensure that there will be a 24-hour connectivity available from the traffic command control center to the junctions. And people can the traffic inspector need not have to monitor the traffic at the junctions, but he can directly sit at the traffic command center and know what exactly happening at the junctions. And any VIP movement that you would like to configure, all these operations can be done directly from the command center. We have configured there are 221 signals that have been automated so far in the system, and all these 221 junctions can be monitored directly from the command centers, and any traffic congestion automatically send SMS alerts to the citizens to know the traffic area so that he can take different route altogether. And apart from this, boarding is called a vehicle actuation technology. This technology is through the cameras, whatever the traffic volumes are there, they're getting synchronized, and we have configured the corridors for 8 junctions, so that if a vehicle starts from here until the 8th junction, there won't be any, the vehicle will need not have to stop it. And by doing this, what we are doing is we are trying to increase the average travel speed of the vehicle by around 50%, and we are also going to reduce the delays in the road network by 35%, and the fuel consumption also is to by 22%. And we are also, pollution is also being controlled with this kind of a design that we have been adopted. Why we have started this is initially we have the signals which are all manual. There is a lot of manpower that is required to really, manage these signals. There is a lot of scope for traffic congestions. There's a lot of scope for traffic congestions. So all these we have been taken into account, and not only the technology point of it, but also we have also taken into account the pedestrian safety. We have also come up with the junction improvements along with JHMC and all, and have redesigned the complete junctions so that the traffic flows can be moved to the traffic flows and can be managed properly. We also have the helpdesk services available at TCC. If there is any problem with the signal or with the connectivity or with any of the resources that are not available, you can report a complaint there. So that team will be addressed to the complaint immediately and resolve it in a 24-hour time. So for any problems, the complete SLA has been integrated into this project. So these are some of the dashboards of the system. It is currently running the traffic police. If you want to know all the aspects of the system, this is the land status, which will talk about the aspects. This is the camera status. This is the solar functioning of the solar, and these are different modes of the blink mode, synchronization, fixed mode. These are the different modes that we have configured, and this talks about the connectivity. If there is any failure, you can directly sit on the system and then can show how many junctions are working fine, how many junctions they have a problem. All these can be monitored just from the TCC center. And lastly, about this is on the Google map. How many signals that are being configured? These are completely displayed on the map. These are the junctions. You have a congestion area. So the signal is in black says it is that particular stretch is congested. You can clearly view the congestion, traffic congestion sitting at the command center, and you can pass instructions. Once you know this, you can directly send alerts to the respective traffic inspectors locally to divert the traffic. And this congestion analysis is directly integrated into the VMS system to provide alerts to the system. And if there is any movement, VIP movement that is passing across, even the VIP movement can also be configured in the HTM system. We do 1 minute to highlight what are the best practices that we have got into this project. One is that on the improving the road junctions point of view, and the entire project is being done by the BEL, that is Bharat Electronics Limited. And this is the project has been completely SLA driven project, and by doing this we are bringing the paradigm shift from concept to contract to the concept to service. Now we have set a clear SLAs for each the project implementation site, the service levels, and everything has been built into the system. And then apart from this, the entire project is being hired to the ASCII, that is the project management as a unit, which will see that the project runs continuously on time. Then we were also taking the citizens' feedback into the system, so that people just don't cross the road as and when they feel like. This will not only affect the traffic flows, but also when it comes to the public safety, it will have a lot of concern. Thank you.
Yeah. So we've actually seen some very good presentations. First, we saw the Vision Zero initiative implemented by Sweden, where they have an ambitious plan of reducing fatality and injuries to zero on the road in all of Sweden's roads. Then we've also seen a presentation on the mass public transport system by way of rail in Hyderabad, for which we are thankful to Mr. N.V.S. Reddy. We've also seen the comprehensive mobility planning that is going into Berlin, where they have this ambition plan of reducing motorized transport to just 25%. And we've also seen how we can retrofit, pedestrian planning, mass transportation planning in our existing cities, for which we are thankful to Mrs. Balakrishnan. And we've also seen, in brief, the HTRIMS project. And as we are moving to a smart city concept, we've also seen how we can use the Copenhagen wheel developed by MIT. It costs about $800. I don't know if it's available for import in India, but it's for sale in the US now and in Europe as well. So I'm very thankful to all the speakers for their excellent presentations. And since we're short of time, and also the participants for the next program and also the speakers are already inside the room, I would like to close the program now by distributing mementos to all the speakers.
Aren't we clapping for this?
Good. Okay.
Thanks. I just conclude by just saying one line. There are three options that we have in terms of the future that holds for us. First is the Metropolis, complete dependence on carbon. In fact, I was very pleased that Dr. Kalam said that we should move to carbon-free movement and mobility. So do we want to continue this path of the Metropolis, or choose the path of the Cyberbia, which is complete reliance on smart technologies and sensors and other things? The third option that we have is the distributed city, where we have options like the 20-minute city, where our mobility is restricted to just 15 or 20 minutes per day, and we enjoy the experience of moving around in cities. I think that choice is now before us, and it's up to us to choose how we have our future. Okay? Thank you.